There's a combination of cowardness on the Democratic side. I do think that part of it is donor-driven and part of it is ideological, but not ideological as a first-order issue. They come from a culture that is of consultants. And so they listen to consultants and they have a consultant's mind view, which worldview, which is, I'm not going to get involved where I can hurt myself. That's not what I'm doing here. I'm standing on the sidelines. And if there's an opportunity for me to affect things, I'll do it, but I'm not going to put myself on the line. That's fundamentally a consultant worldview.
Right.
And it shows,
it looks like weakness, which it is. I mean, that's the popularism, Matt Iglesias model. I would say it's rebranded. It's just Clinton style politics of centrism, but like, just going with what the poll testing says, as opposed to acting appropriately as a politician, like you have the ability to change the conversation, which is what the Republicans do all the time.
Here is Bernie Sanders, however, who has a slightly different perspective on these things.
Mr. President, in the midst of all of this, I think that now is the time to ask a very, very simple question, something I think that is on the minds of millions of Americans. What do Mr. Musk, Mr. Trump, and their fellow billionaires really want? Now, it's not really taking over Greenland, the Panama Canal, all that stuff. The real question is, what is their end game? What is their goal? What are they striving for? And in my view, the answer really is not complicated. It is not novel. It is not new. It is, in fact, exactly what ruling classes throughout history have always wanted and have always believed to be their right. And that is more power for themselves, more control for themselves, and more wealth for themselves. And in their pursuit of more power, more control, and more wealth, they are determined to not allow democracy and the rule of law to get in their way. For Mr. Musk and his fellow oligarchs, the needs, the concerns, the pain, the ideas, the dreams of ordinary people are simply an impediment to what they, the oligarchs, are entitled to. And that is really what they believe. They are entitled to all of the wealth and the power they have, and they are determined to stop anyone who gets in their way.
Sanders is going on a tour. I know he's going to Iowa City a week and a half from a week from tomorrow to go on this anti-oligarch tour. I mean, this is
going to districts that went from Biden to Trump, right? So Biden 2020, Trump 2024, right, which is what Democratic leadership should be doing.
Yes.
But Bernie Sanders has to step up here, and he does always.
I mean, this is important. This is it could have been said in a less defeatist tone, but as Hakeem Jeffries said, they have no leverage. But the next thing is not. So what do we? Can't do anything. No, you can do stuff. You can make the loss that we are going to take, the loss of, cancer funding, the loss of help with heating or electricity or food or healthcare or the loss of jobs or the loss of job security. I mean, on and on. All of these things that the American public is losing. You can be out there finding different ways of making sure the American public knows who's to blame for this. And it's not just Elon Musk. It's the Republican Party. It's everybody that you're going to be running against.
Yep.
And I don't know why they can't seem to figure that out. Meanwhile, and I should also say, too, that that Sanders' point is a pretty straightforward one. The reason why you destroy government is because government ultimately functions, and sometimes it can do a better job or a worse job, ultimately functions to curb corporate power, to curb the power of the wealthy and the elite. Now, our government has failed in a way that has made a lot of people out there sort of nihilistic and thinking the only way to curb the power of billionaires is to have other billionaires. But every agency that they're going after, in one form or another, inhibits the power of corporations.
Yep.
The reason why they fire the inspector generals of all these agencies is the people who are out there looking for fraud and waste in these agencies is because they're going in and they're destroying these agencies. They're not cutting out fraud. They're not cutting out waste. They're not doing an audit. They're trying to break these agencies.
Right. That and Musk in particular is doing a step further, where Project 2025 and yes, like what the tech oligarchs want, they're working hand in hand. Musk is also rifling through the treasury, stealing people's personal information and looking at it as he does a deal with Visa to make X into a bank or a transaction service like Venmo. So he's both destroying government to help the billionaires and then in the process stealing from us for his own ends.
And understand, when Musk essentially shuts down the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, one of the functions that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does, and this was an agency that got built in the wake of the financial crisis in 2008, because under the Clinton years, the relationship between investment banks and commercial banks was no longer a firewall there. We had Glass-Steagall back from the Depression days. That was basically to protect. I was saying, like, if you guys want to gamble with people's money, you can gamble with people's money, but you cannot use vanilla banking money to gamble with, because that's when it becomes systemically problematic. And one of the things that Elon Musk will gain by destroying the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is there will not be any cops on the beat to say, hey, wait a second. These services you want to provide through your website are banking services. If you're going to provide banking services, you're going to be subject to the banking regulations that protect the people who use your banking services. Now, he doesn't want that, because that requires having capital requirements. That requires having people make sure that your systems are secure. That requires all sorts of regulation to protect consumers that he's not interested in, because that cuts his costs.
Yep.
And then you see the flunkies and the idiots and the morons come out to defend him.
All we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with three things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang. These guys will never be able to recover.
That's Steve Bannon spelling out the strategy. Overwhelm Americans with news so Trump can quietly push his real agenda. This is the shock doctrine in action, and it's happening right now. Trump is flooding the news cycle with executive orders so the media jumps from headline to headline while his real power grabs go unnoticed, and it's working. Go to ground.news/majority or scan this QR code to find the only source covering Trump quietly reversing a rule banning lobbyists from giving gifts or joining the government. Trump is using chaos to hide corruption in plain sight again. And unless you have ground news, you probably missed it. That's why I've relied on my partners for years now. Their app, website, browser extension let me compare coverage from across the political spectrum, find angles my usual outlets may have missed. Because I can't track everything Trump's doing or undoing, I've also built personalized feeds to follow key issues from independent sources I trust. This way, I'm not getting sucked into the same media traps everyone else does. So if you're tired of getting lost in the chaos, get the same unlimited access Vantage plan I use for almost half the price. Just go to ground.news/majority or scan my QR code to subscribe for $5 a month. If you aren't controlling your news, they're controlling you. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.